Boxing King Media. We're back here straight in the Ingle gym, straight off a flight with zero sleep with Dominic Ingle for episode 44 of the Brutally Honest podcast. Before we talk about anything, Dom, I walked in and I thought you was literally, is Kell Brook around? Are these guys getting ready for camp? Can you just let us know? Are you
this t-shirt
again? Yeah,
this is the Kell Brook t-shirt. Actually, it was 11 years ago on Saturday when Kell beat Sean Porter for the world title. Now, I'd like to have wore that t-shirt because I do think the only ones I've actually saved are Kell's t-shirts because they were quite good. But I looked at my drawer for that one and it's disappeared. So I'm thinking that when I was in America, somebody nicked it because I had 2 or 3 of them. And I took it off after the victory, put it down, and probably thought it would be probably Barry nicked it somewhere and sold it on the internet, but I haven't got it, so I've had to make do with this one. So it's an 11-year celebration of Kell Brook beating Sean Porter on that fantastic night in California. Great night, so we're just remembering that for today. And this week, actually, it's going to be Kell Brook week in the gym.
is it?
That's going to be Kell Brook. I don't think he's going to come in. He might see this interview and it might motivate him, but I saw him the other day. He's
busy being a dad.
He's been a dad, but he's had his hair transplant. Didn't recognise him. He's going to soon be looking like a younger version of Michael Jackson with that big afro, I think, because Kelly used to have one of them when he was a kid. So I think that's what he's aiming for.
Okay. What's the dare I ask what size that t-shirt is?
It's actually too small for me. That's why I look hench in it.
Okay.
Yeah. And people are going to be saying all kinds of things. Look at veins in Ingle's, and
popping out his head.
Popping out his head, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. But yeah, I think most will die to look like 50 odd years old. So before we get to Dillian White, I think we'll just cover the undercard. The first fight, Nick Ball. We'll go through your predictions. You predicted him to win on points. He ended up winning on points. It was a unanimous decision. One judge had it close by 1 round, the other 2 had it a bit wider. Some people moaned about it, the cards online. How did you view Nick Ball's performance? Beating a good Australian, Sam Goodman. He wasn't well known, but people got to see he was very good. And I think even Turkey gave him a shout out and said he'll be back on the Riyadh card because he was impressed with the way he fought.
I think when you look at the Australian fighters, we've had a few over the years, and I always remember when Jeff Horn came on the scene, he wasn't particularly well known over here until he boxed Manny Pacquiao and beat him. Same with Michael Zarafa when he came over, a relative unknown to British shores, and he boxed Kell Brook and gave him a decent fight, and Zarafa's still doing well. So nobody's heard much of this kid, but he gave Nick Ball a decent fight. I did think Nick Ball had won. It could have been a little bit wide on some scorecards, but whichever way it was the right decision. Nick Ball, like I say, is a one-man wrecking team, innit? And it's good to see, Paul over at the Red Triangle finally get a world champion. He's had a few near misses with Jazza Dickens and a few other fighters in the past, but there's a little bit of success there in Liverpool, which is keeping it going. So it's good to see. I think that was his second defence, wasn't it?
It was, second defence.
But we had Nick here sparring King Gallagher years ago. You could tell he was going to be a talent, vicious little kid. Hopefully he doesn't take too much wear and tear and he gets another couple of fights out and makes a few quid.
Yeah, I tell you what, the interesting thing about him was I spoke to him early in the week, and the way he fights, his personality is the complete opposite. He's like the most nicest, simplest kid you'll ever meet, but when he's in the ring, he's vicious.
Well, he obviously saves it, doesn't he? And then you get them people outside of the ring who, kick off and cause trouble and aggravation, then they get in the ring and they fall on the floor, don't they? I've seen plenty of that happening with fighters over the years. So it's nice to see, and you do find that the best fighters just have that quiet confidence.
Yeah, you're right. It was quite good because when I spoke to him, he said that his focus was more on making his parents proud by winning than belts, money. So
that's a good motivating factor in it, and it's, what can I say? It's more real, in it. You're like doing it for a reason for your parents, not for some, what people sometimes would consider trashy tinny belts. It's just symbolism, in it. But I suppose as parents, it's always great. Well, it is great to see your kids do well. My eldest has just done all his A levels, passed them all. He's going to university. It's a great achievement, and he sits in the room doing the studying. I don't really had much to do with it, and he's done his thing. So it's always nice as a parent to see your kids doing well and channeling it in positive ways.
Shout out to Dom Ingle Jr. then. Next fight, David Adeleye versus Filip Hrgović. You backed Filip to just win on points. He was struggling to make a decision, but you went for Hrgovic to win on points, and that's pretty much what happened. What did you make of the performance, and mainly David Adeleye, big jump up to world level?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I haven't watched much of David Adeleye. I think I watched him a few times earlier in his career, and he always seemed to be gassing after 4 or 5 rounds, and, you know, decent enough kid, but just never more hype than substance. And he got well beat in that fight, but what he did show is he's got through the 12 rounds.
10.
Sorry, he got through the 10 rounds, and he got off the floor as well. So he's showing improvement. Hrgovic, is it Hrgovic?
Yeah.
He's a good fighter, top fighter. He's only been beat by, I think it's Dubois. And he's trained by, is he trained by Abel Sanchez?
He is, yeah.
He's trained by Abel Sanchez. So maybe that's, I mean, I'm not sure who trained him when he boxed Dubois, but maybe that's the factor where he's kind of improved, because you can, after getting beat by, and he was unbeaten when he boxed Dubois, you can lose your confidence. So he's got all that experience. He came under heavy fire, actually, Hrgovic, when he dropped Adeleye. He got back up and gave it him back and nearly had him out on his feet. And it was good. It's good to see that, because it was entertaining. And I think Adeleye can build on that. You know, people might have written him off. He's just probably outside the top 10 in England, in the UK rankings. So, you know, there's fights there for him. And if he can improve on that, Adam Booth, decent trainer. I don't know how long Adelaye's been with him.
Maybe second or third.
Yeah, well, you can see there's obviously an improvement. There's definitely an improvement. I think if he sticks with Adam Booth and listens, obviously Adam's been there with the top fighters, George Groves, David A. He knows what he's doing, and obviously he thinks it's worth spending his time on Adelaide. He can see something, and I think he's got to take that as a bit of a learning fight and see where he's at. So he could definitely improve on that and get himself into the British title mix if he starts listening to Adam Booth.
We're going to have to add David Adeleye, not Adelaide, to baby Jake Miller, I think.
Yeah, well, I keep looking at his name. It says Adeleye, Adeleye, or whatever. I kept looking, thinking, it reminds me of Adele. I wonder if he can sing. But hopefully he don't start singing like he does like Tyson Fury does after he's won a fight.
Yeah, no, Adelaide's a city in Australia, isn't it? But
Adelaide.
yeah. But yeah, David Adeleye, just for correction.
Or maybe we can change his name to Adelaide and get him some kind of sponsorship.
Yeah.
Have him as a naturalised Australian, so some decent fighters are coming out of there.
Yeah. So, and then Filip Hrgovic, there's some talk of him jump. You know, would you like to see him fight anyone in particular next? Because it was good performance from him, and he showed a good chin.
Do you know where he's from?
Croatian.
Yeah, Croatia, and somebody put online, these Russians, where they getting these Russians from? Obviously, he's not Russian, but what I'd like to see him with. I think he still needs a bit more work on him, because like just saying coming under fire in that round when he dropped David Adeleye.
Yep.
Adeleye. When he dropped him, really, you don't want to be dropping somebody and then them kind of stealing the round back, and it could have been a 10-9 that round. You know, he dropped him, it was 10-8, he could fought his way back in well. But you've got to that's the mistake, letting somebody come back at you once you've had them on the floor. It's always a dangerous time. So he's just got to kind of develop that part of his game where when he's in control of the fight, he doesn't give up that round, because that's what he did. So I don't know really what's next for him. I mean, maybe DILLIAN WHYTE.
Yeah. Well,
no, definitely not Itauma, no.
Well, I spoke to Abel Sanchez off camera, and I don't know if you noticed, but he kind of disappeared for a few years. He still looks incredibly well for his age. He's 76 years old, and he apparently went into property developing. He's always been a builder all his life. I don't know if you know that or not. He's always been into buying, selling, and building property. And he goes, Sanchez came to him, and then he took him on, and then he's ended up buying a new gym in Big Bear.
You mean Thingy came on to him? The fact you said Sanchez came on.
Hrgovic, sorry, yes. So Hrgovic came on to him, and so he ended up buying a gym, setting up, and then now he's ended up with the Saudi Arabian kid, Mohammed Ali, Kell, and a few other fighters. So he's basically restarting again at 76 years old. But he spoke highly of you, because I asked him, if you had much interaction with Ingle, he knew who you was, and he spoke well of you.
Obviously, we met over the Carson Jones fight, and then when Kell boxed Golovkin, and he's a knowledgeable fella. He's got a great story that I think even when Golovkin walked into his gym, he was almost on the verge of retirement. And this kid walked in, and it obviously restarted him. So it's a tremendous achievement what he's done. He's a lovely fella, Abel Sanchez, to be honest. He's got that experience, and you know, sooner or later these fighters are going to realise, because we've had a bit of a period of time when we've had all these gym trainers and these flashy people, these nobodies, you know, giving advice to fighters. AJ's had a few of them trainers. But Abel Sanchez has got experience, and you can't buy that experience. You know, and it's great to see he's got this fighter. Hopefully he can keep him winning. He can impart some of that knowledge onto Ergovic and, you know, getting back to winning ways and getting back in the mix, because he's only got one loss on his record. Even a rematch against Dubois might be a good fight. You know, see if he can avenge that loss. So, yeah, he's a nice fella, Abel Sanchez.
He is. Moving on to the main event, the big talking point was Dillian White's shape, and we got to see him go on the scales. He was 244.5 pounds, and a few months earlier he weighed in 261 against Ebenezer Tete. So just based on the weight, is that a big weight drop? You know, obviously you know more about weights than me.
Somebody said, I didn't see this because I never saw him from behind, but somebody said he got Manjaro on back of his shorts.
That's a restaurant, isn't it?
That's a restaurant, is it? No, Manjaro's that fat jab what everybody's taking to lose weight.
Is it? All right, okay.
You need to get with the programme.
Oh, I didn't know.
I'm joking, he didn't say that, but I thought you'd click on, but obviously you've not had enough sleep, have you?
No, I haven't.
So, yeah, it was a massive weight loss, and when I saw that, you know, there could be reasons for that. Maybe he thought, I mean, how old is Dillian now?
37.
Right, and we were talking about this Jamaican age, weren't we? So he's probably 52. He might be able to collect his pension. But...
he's going to hate you for that.
No, he's not. Listen, what I would say is this. Dillian White lost a lot of weight. It was probably a sensible thing to do because he's going to need his fitness. But one thing he's not going to be able to do is compete with a younger guy at 20 years old for fitness and strength who can already fight. Like people were talking that, a lot of people message me, what do you think? I think this is going to be a banana skin for, is it Itauma or Tuma?
Itauma.
Itauma. It could be a banana skin. I says it's not. It's very clever matchmaking. Dillian White is 17 years older than this kid. And when you've got a game kid at 20, he's not a novice at all. You look at Mike Tyson at 20. Look at Nazim Hamid at 20. They're very, very good fighters, and they've got that ambition, and they've got a reckless, carefree attitude because they've got no responsibilities. And if they do get beat, they've always got time to come back again. They've got time. But when you're 37 years old, every fight could be your last fight. Fair play to Dillian White for taking that fight. And he had an injury, but he was probably money he couldn't turn down at the stage of his career. You know, the ups and downs he's had in boxing. You know, he did it, and he went out on his shield, and he tried, and that was it. But what I would say is, some people might agree, some people might disagree. And I'm not quite sure what Dillian White turned pro at, but Dillian White at 22, say 24, 25, would have given the 20-year-old Itauma a much better fight. Unfortunately, time was against him in this fight. So, you know, it's a good scalp for Itauma. It's very clever matchmaking. There's no shame in what's happened to Dillian White. Hopefully, he's got enough money not to have to box again from that fight. I don't know how much he got, or he saved enough or whatever. But he's coming to that age now, and looking at Derek Chisora, similar age to Dillian White. He doesn't want to be boxing as long as Chisora is, because Dillian White's got all his faculties. I'm not sure that Derek has. And that might sound a bit controversial, but he's starting to slur a little bit. It's a bit worrying.
Okay. Derek you're on about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not Dillian.
Well, I'm going to come to Derek in a second, actually, but just finishing on Dillian. So obviously you talked a bit about so I was bloody reading something then, because I lost my chain of thought. Just talking about the fact that, you know, you feel like he's earned his money, doesn't need to box again, etc. But could it not just be a case that this kid was just way too good? Is there not any other fights out there for him that you think maybe they're more evenly matched?
It's not that the kid's way too good. It's not that he's way too good. It's just that.
Like, would you not want to see?
All right, if I had to make the choice of that big kid being way too good, or Dillian White being way too old, what was the factor in that fight is, I'm going to say that Dillian White was way too old, not that Itauma was way too good. Right, that's what I'm going to say on the balance of stuff. And he will get better because he's only 20, and that's not taking anything away from him. I saw Tyson Fury, I don't know if you sent me the clip or somebody sent me a clip saying he's going to wipe up the floor with everybody, but he didn't mention, I think Itauma...
He didn't mention himself.
No, but I think he sparred Itauma for one of the Usyk fights. And he gave Tyson a very good spar. And I think he only did one session and then he cleared off. From what I remember, I think he was just probably kind of measured Tyson. But at this stage where Itauma is, Tyson was talking about Usyk getting beat by him. Usyk won't get beat by him because Usyk is a very, very good fighter, very technical, and he knows how to deal with that style. And he will struggle a little bit, but technically, Usyk is very good, and technically, Itauma isn't at this stage. He's very young, he's very strong, he's very powerful, he's very quick. And good fighters know how to negate that. And Usyk knows how to do that. Time is catching up with Usyk and he's going to have to be very, very careful. So it's a case of timing it right. They're on about Itauma fighting him in 1 or 2 fights time. You know, Usyk will weigh that up. And it's like Tyson said about Klitschko. Klitschko kind of got old overnight when he boxed Tyson, but he'd been at it a long time anyway, in his late 30s. By the time he boxed Joshua, he was 40 odd. Still gave a good account of himself against an up-and-coming fighter. I mean, it's that kind of balance. Remember Joshua fighting Klitschko, and Klitschko caught him or had him down and had him gassed, and then Klitschko ran out of gas and Joshua stopped him. It was that kind of fight. Well, that's what it'll probably might be like against Usyk with Itauma.
Okay. Well, just on Itauma there, I was just looking at the current crop of heavyweights in the top 10. Itauma, I think, has had 26 rounds in the last 2 and a bit years since he's been a pro. How important is that factor? Is that, does that matter? Because he's blown most people away.
It doesn't matter, because as long as you're doing the training in the gym, you know you can do the rounds. He's a fit kid, obviously. He's very fast. He's explosive, and he don't seem to be blowing. So he's not daft. He's switched on. I don't think he's the type of kid who's going to get carried away with what he's doing and who he's beating. He seems to be quite level-headed and not a bit, I'm not going to say humble, but like he's not a Conor Ben, he's not a Eubank. He's quite confident in what he can do. So I don't think there's any need for him to, be blowing up or shouting his head off. So I think he knows what he's got to do. And the rounds, once you can do 6 rounds, you can do 10. What's the most rounds he's done?
I think he's done a 10-rounder.
Yeah, but I'm saying, how many rounds what's the most rounds he's completed?
And give me 2 seconds. I don't want to be misquoted, because people gun you down if you get something wrong like that. It's like we can't be wrong. I think we got somebody's age wrong last time. I think we called Itauma 22, but he's actually 20. Right. Got crucified for that. So he's done the most, I think, 6. Hold on, is it 6?
No, I said he was 20 years on. I said 22.
So the most rounds he's done is actually 6.
Yeah, so he's done 6 rounds. So if you can do 6 rounds, you can do 10, you can do 12. It's just down to, I think I always quote this, a little bit of knowledge. When I used to take people over to spar Ricky Hatton, and Ricky Hatton could do 12 rounds, like at lightning speed. And we used to take people to spar with him, and it were good money. It were 4 rounds. Sometimes it was 6. Never seen him do 8 rounds. I said to him, Ricky, why do the way I fight, I don't need to be sparring for 4 and 6 rounds, do I? Because once you can do 4 rounds or 6 rounds, you can do 12, it's just rested down to fitness. And that's true. You've got to be confident. Once you're doing the training, and when you watch Ricky box, I used to change him sometimes, watch him warming up. He'd warm up, he'd know exactly when they were going to go on. He knew exactly to the, they told him exact time, they'd time it. And he used to go in, from what I remember, and he'd be blitzing Billy Graham on the body bag and pads for about 4 rounds. So by the time he got into that ring, he'd already done 4 rounds. He were warmed up, he were firing, and he came out like a whirlwind. And these kids who probably aren't warmed up properly, they were trying to get the second wind all the time. And he'd usually, by the time Ricky had done 4 rounds, theoretically he'd done 8. By that time, he got on top of most people. Instead, if you could get him a bit later on and stick with him, he might have faded a little bit. But that's what he used to do. He's 100% confident in his fitness. So, that's another little lesson learned.
Well, what you mentioned there about Itauma's personality, I think you mentioned word, he could be perceived as being humble. From my observations, what I've seen of him, I will say, I met him 2 and a bit years ago, and with all the success he's had, I'll give you an example. I saw him walk into a room full of fighters the trainers, the staff who was like providing food, cleaners. He went around and shook every single person's hand, from the staff to the trainers, and I just saw it and I thought he's a very respectful young man.
Yeah, but there's no.
And he was the main event. He didn't need to, because you see most fighters walking into a room, they'll sit down, mind their own business. But he shook one person's hand. He went and greeted every single person.
Some people love playing the superstar and the prima donna, don't they? But it don't really get you anywhere. You know, you're better off being what you are, true to yourself. You know, it's like one time. This is another little story for you. When Nas boxed with McCulloch, we were training, and we were in an hotel in Rotherham, and we were downstairs doing a session. And as we came up, there was an event going on for disabled kids. And Kell, who used to be at the gym here, had something to do with the hotel. He said, "Oh, Naz, can you just come in here and say hello to these kids?" And whatever. And Naz went in, and he must have been in there an hour, talking to these, signing autographs, shaking their hands, having photos took. You know what I mean? And this was coming up to a fight. So for all Naz's, you know, posturing and everything else, he still knew where his roots were when it came down to kids and everything else. You know, that's one thing. So, people say to me, "Oh, Naz, arrogant." Yeah, when he had to be in the ring and do that kind of stuff, and maybe later on. But when he was coming through, he wasn't like that. He was quite an humble kid. So, you know, he never forgot where he came from, and he always used to go out of his way to help people if he could.
Yeah, it was good to see that. And, you know, Moses and his brothers, he's got a core, because you talk a lot about this, you know, the people you surround yourself with. From day dot, he's comes from a big family, he's got a lot of brothers and sisters, and it's the same people. I haven't seen any new additions yet. We're 13, 14 fights in, same people, same set of brothers, all very religious. They're all like very, you know, they all kind of do everything together,
Right.
buy property together, they invest together. You know, it's like a family union.
Good to see.
Yeah. With regards to Dillian White, whether he does choose to retire, speaking to him and looking at his backstory, literally what we're talking, when he was 5, 6, 7 years old, mum left him in Jamaica, mum moved here, and his mum was sending money to Jamaica to his uncle to feed him, but the uncle was spending it elsewhere. So he was basically homeless, not being fed, and he was basically stealing Fanta bottles, he told me, and then selling them on to earn a living. So for somebody who was doing that 30 odd years ago,
yeah,
he's won in life, isn't
it's a massive achievement. But what we only see is we don't really see the backstories until you actually start asking them, and not many people give you the backstory, do they? So you've done well to get the backstory out of him. Secondly, you know, we're always going to judge people on what they're doing in the sport, boxing, you know, how well they conduct themselves. You know, obviously he's failed a few drug tests, he's had a lot of flack from that, mainly from me. But you can't alter the fact that people who've had a better start in life than him haven't got as far. So when you look, we only see in the successful part of his life. They all come from adversity. Somebody messaged me the other day. I'm now on TikTok, believe it or not.
Oh yes, shout out Dom's TikTok.
It's a whole different, you know, type of people. And I've put something up on a speedball, and somebody saying, "Oh, do you ever box? Why didn't you turn professional with your dad like you? You should have been a top boxer." Well, I didn't come from enough adversity in life to have what it took to be a boxer. And I just plainly said, yeah, because I weren't good enough. What you needed to be back in the days when Johnny Nelson started, you had to have nothing in your life, and the only thing was boxing. You had to have something to aim for. Well, that wasn't how I was. You know, and I was in the gym and I saw what the success were with fighters like Errol Bomber, but what the downside was, and how hard it was. So when you think of Dillian White, where he's had to come from just to get his foot on the ladder, then build his way through, he's done remarkably well, and hopefully he's invested his money and he's looked after it, and he's 37, and by the time he's 40, he don't have to be putting himself in the ring and be getting blasted by young and up-and-coming prospects, because and he can finish with his faculties intact. That's why we say, you know, people measure people's success in boxing by all the belts and the accolades they've got. It's getting through boxing with a healthy bank account and your faculties intact as much as you can be. And that's all that matters when it comes down to it 20, 30 years later.
Definitely. He's definitely won in life, you know, despite, you know, ups and downs, etc. But Derek Chisora had quite a funny video with Derek Chisora. He was started off serious and he ended up into a joke, but he went up to Spencer Brown, assuming that he made the fight, and he said to him that someone needs to go to jail, needs to be arrested for making this fight, especially him. And people won't know, but Spencer used to be a white collar fighter and he could look after himself, and he was ready to go. He looked Derek in the eyes and went, "You fucking blaming me?" It was quite a funny little
Who did
moment.
make the match?
I'm assuming Queensbury.
Yeah, but
the end of the day, they made an offer to Dillian.
I think you've got.
Well, it's a joint decision, isn't it? Because they made the offer and he's accepted
Yeah,
it.
you can't
blame one
you can't
person.
turn that down in fights. You know, that's boxing. It is what it is, and there was no reason why Dillian White shouldn't take that fight. He could have had that fight with somebody slightly less dangerous, still got beat and got a tenth of the money. So you've got to take the risk, and big money with big fights or with big risk comes big money, but you know it could be a bad result at the end of it all. So there's nobody to blame, because ultimately it's down to the fighter. If Dillian White was a younger man and he was on his way up and he needed to be guided through, then you might, you know, you pick your fights more wisely. But when you come into the end of your career, you take, you know, the best option for, you know, for money, and that's what he did.
Moses now is obviously ranked very highly in all the governing bodies. There's talk of him fighting for world titles, big names. I'm just going to get in
I'm going to tell you where I'd like to see him fight.
Go on.
Can you guess? A newly...
I know you.
What am I going to say?
You're not going to say Lawrence Okoli, are you?
I am. Okay. That's what I'd like to see, because it'd be a bit like...
But Lawrence has got a very high ranking, so
Do you know what would be good? Doing a promo with Itauma walking into a forest. We had like a lumberjack jacket on and an axe, and walking in and start chopping at a tree, and then it just collapses. And that'd be like having that before the fight, because that's what it'd be like. So that's a fight I'd like to see.
Okay, well, I'm going to go through the top 10 heavyweights.
No, that's just the fight I want to see. I'm not bothered about anybody else.
I want to know which one of these do you think does Moses beat these in? Like, just quick decision. No tactical breakdowns, just yes or no. Does he beat Usyk now?
No.
Kabayel?
No, I don't think so, not at this moment.
Dubois?
Yeah.
Parker?
Yeah.
Fabio Wardley?
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't ask you the next one. Okoli?
Definitely.
Joshua?
Debatable. I'm not. I know he got done by Dubois, but I just think I don't know about that one. I'm gonna have to go.
Tyson Fury?
No.
Gassiev?
Yeah.
And Hrgovic?
Yeah.
Okay, so you basically think he's top 10 then, but that's what I wanted to gather. So that suggests he beats some of the top 10, so he's a top 10 heavyweight. And just a quick one before I ask you the next thing. Last week I put up on there that we've got a Boxing King Media WhatsApp group, and we're going to be giving away an AJ hoodie once we hit 100. I think we just hit over 100 people on there now. So if you're in that group, if you're not in it, you can still join it. The link will be in the pin to the comments, and it's you can scan the QR code on the screen now. I'm going to drop a question on that group tomorrow at 6 p.m. So Tuesday 6 p.m. And whoever texts me the answer first wins the hoodie. Simple. And when we hit 500, I'll do another competition.
Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.
Respect isn't given, it's earned in blood.
Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.